Gyomei is the strongest Hashira, but did you know that he has a secret connection to an upper demon moon? By the end of this video, you will understand Gyomei's full power, his dark backstory, and his connection to a demon slayer who betrayed his brothers and became a demon. Let's get into it. You guys know how this works. If you enjoy my Demon Slayer content and you want to see more in the future, leave a quick like and comment for that YouTube algorithm. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do me a huge favor and subscribe. It helps me out a lot, and it's completely free. Now, before joining the Demon Slayer Corps, Gyomei was a blind monk living inside a remote Buddhist temple. This temple was also home to 9 orphan children who had no one to raise them, so they were raised by Gyomei as if they were his own family. Gyomei and the orphans didn't have a lot, they were quite poor, but at least they had each other and they weren't alone. It was very important for them to always stick together, because the temple where they lived was located in an area known for lots of demon activity, so being caught out at night by yourself could be deadly. In fact, the rules of the temple stated that anyone who left the temple for whatever reason had to return before dark. This is because the temple at least had some defenses set up against demons, such as special wisteria flower incense that prevented demons from entering the temple. But if you were caught at night outside of the temple, you would be easy pickings for a demon. Unfortunately, on one dark night, one of the 9 orphan children broke the rules of the temple and failed to return before dark. This child was eventually captured by a demon in the forest and was about to be eaten. In order to save himself, he made a deal with the demon. The boy said that if the demon spares his life, he will lead him to the 8 other children at the temple. And so in exchange for this boy's life, the demon would have an opportunity to devour 8 other children. Remember this boy who sold out the other orphans to save his own skin, because he will come up again later. Anyway, this orphan boy led the demon to the temple, and he went a step further. He secretly extinguished all of the wisteria flower incense that kept the demons from entering the temple at night, and this allowed the demon to come inside the temple and attack the orphans. 4 of the children were taken out right away, before Gyomei could even react. But after realizing what was happening, Gyomei did his best to protect the other 4 orphans, even though he was just a blind monk and certainly not a warrior of any kind. Gyomei tried to tell the children to hide behind him as he did his best to fight off the demon, but 3 of the 4 children ran off on their own instead of hiding behind him, and then they were all taken out by the merciless demon. After claiming these new victims, the demon came after Gyomei and the final child. Even though Gyomei was a Buddhist monk who hated violence, he decided that he had to fight back against this monster, and so he started punching the demon with his bare hands over and over again. As it turns out, Gyomei was really strong, and after snapping and attacking the demon relentlessly, he was actually able to keep the demon incapacitated long enough for the sun to come out and kill the demon. It was during this fight against the demon that Gyomei earned that big scar on his forehead. In the end, the demon did unfortunately manage to claim the lives of 7 orphans, but Gyomei was ultimately successful in killing the demon and protecting that one final child. However, because most people didn't actually believe that demons were real, and because the body of the demon disappeared after being destroyed by the sun, most people assumed that there was no demon at all. They thought that Gyomei just lost his mind and killed 7 orphans on his own. The last surviving child was only 4 years old at the time, so she was unable to properly explain what happened, and again the authorities assumed that she was telling them that Gyomei became a demon and attacked the children. As in, he must have snapped and gone crazy and started acting like a demon, because they couldn't comprehend that the temple could have been attacked by a real demon. So instead of thanking Gyomei for risking his life to protect the children despite being a poor, blind, malnourished monk, they actually arrested him and charged him with murder of all the orphans. Gyomei received a death sentence, and he was waiting to be executed when he was approached by the leader of the Demon Slayers, Kagaya Ubuyashiki. Kagaya knew the truth, and he was able to pull some strings to get Gyomei out of prison. After that, he recruited Gyomei into the Demon Slayer Corps, and ever since that time, Gyomei has been training incredibly hard, which allowed him to reach peak physical condition. He became the Stone Hashira only 2 months after becoming a Demon Slayer, and eventually his body was developed to the highest possible extent. He has truly attained his full potential as a warrior and a Demon Slayer, and that is why he is deservedly referred to as the strongest Hashira. After becoming a Hashira, Gyomei managed to slay the demon who killed the parents of Kanae and Shinobu Kocho, and he is the reason why the Kocho sisters decided to join the Demon Slayer Corps. He also saved Genya when he was losing control of his own demonic abilities, and Genya desperately wants Gyomei to take him on as his apprentice, or Tsuguko. Not only is Gyomei acknowledged by his fellow Demon Slayers and Hashira as the strongest Demon Slayer in the entire Demon Slayer Corps, but even Upper Moon 1 Kokushibo acknowledged that Gyomei's physical abilities have been trained to their absolute peak. And he even said that he hadn't come across a warrior as strong as Gyomei in over 300 years. Since Kokushibo has been alive for almost 500 years, he definitely knows what he's talking about. Gyomei continues to get stronger as the story unfolds, and he eventually awakens his Demon Slayer mark, which boosts his speed, strength, and stamina even more. He also unlocks the bright red Nichiren blades, which allow him to inflict wounds that demons cannot recover from, and he also gains access to the transparent world, which allows him to see even better than someone who has perfect vision, despite the fact that Gyomei himself is blind. That said, the fact that Gyomei lived his life in blindness led him to develop a superhuman sense of hearing as a way to compensate. Gyomei is also an expert user of the repetitive action technique, and during the Hashira training arc, we see him teaching this technique to other Demon Slayers, including Tanjiro. Instead of a sword, Gyomei uses an axe and spiked flail in battle, which is similar to a traditional Japanese weapon known as kusarigama. Soon after joining the Demon Slayer Corps, Gyomei mastered stone breathing, a breathing style that is derived directly from sun breathing. This breathing style is inspired by the earth and stone, and its techniques rely on the earth beneath the user's feet to make the user's stance and forms as firm and sturdy as possible. Stone breathing is good for both offense and defense, and it emphasizes the importance of physical strength, firm balance, perfect awareness of your surroundings, and a sturdy battle stance. Although we know that other stone breathing users existed in the past, Gyomei the Stone Hashira is the only known user of stone breathing in the entire series. Stone breathing has 5 known forms, including first form Serpentinite Bipolar, which involves the user throwing both his axe and flail at his opponent at the same time, and then pulling on the chain in order to make both weapons rotate and drill through the enemy. Second form Upper Smash, which involves the user throwing the axe and flail at his target in order to create a pincer attack. The user can then smash down on the chain and force it to rebound on its target. Third form, Stone Skin, which is a defensive technique involving a barrage of slashes designed to deflect enemy attacks. Fourth form, Volcanic Rock Rapid Conquest, a 2-pronged attack from a distance that involves spinning the axe and spiked flail on the chain in order to strike the opponent from a distance. Finally, there's fifth form, Arcs of Justice, for which the user unleashes a massive barrage of strikes with the flail and axe. This is also a 2-pronged attack that is designed to inflict a huge amount of damage. Okay, so clearly Gyomei is extremely powerful and he deserves the title of the strongest Hashira. But what about that secret connection between Gyomei and an upper demon moon that I teased in the beginning of the video? Well, remember that orphan from Gyomei's temple who got caught by a demon and then sold out the other orphans in order to save his own life? Well, his name is Kaigaku, and his story is full of interesting twists and turns. Before he was taken in by the temple, Kaigaku was an orphan who had a very tough childhood, and he had to become a thief and steal scraps of food just to survive. He eventually decided that in order to survive, he must be willing to do literally anything, and what happened to other people did not matter as long as he came out on top in the end. This ruthless worldview would continue to play a major role in Kaigaku's life, and it is part of the reason why he helped a demon kill 7 fellow orphans in exchange for his own life. As we know, Kaigaku managed to escape the temple attack unharmed, and a number of years after that attack, when Kaigaku was already a teenager, he was taken in by former Thunder Hashira Jigoro Kuwaijima and trained to use thunder breathing alongside Jigoro's other disciple, Zenitsu. And so, the boy who made a deal with a demon to save his own life, thereby ending the lives of 7 other orphans, eventually became a member of the Demon Slayer Corps. And Kaigaku was quite talented, and he was able to master all of Thunder Breathing's forms except for the very first form, which as you'll remember is the only form that Zenitsu was able to master. Kaigaku believed that he was far superior to Zenitsu as a Demon Slayer, and when looking at their overall lists of feats and accomplishments up to that point, it isn't hard to see why Kaigaku came to that conclusion. But the knowledge that he was a more talented Demon Slayer than Zenitsu wasn't enough for Kaigaku. He hated Zenitsu because he believed that Zenitsu was weak and cowardly, and in fact, Kaigaku often mocked and bullied Zenitsu during their training. When Jigoro decided that he wanted both of his disciples to become his successors, Kaigaku was furious because he felt that Zenitsu was clearly inferior to him. And the fact that Jigoro seemed to be putting Zenitsu on an equal footing with him was seen as a grave insult by Kaigaku. But while doing the whole demon slayering thing, Kaigaku eventually came across another demon, and this time it wasn't just a random demon who was hunting for easy prey in the woods. This time, Kaigaku found himself face to face with Upper Moon 1 Kokushibo, the strongest demon in the world after Muzan himself. Now obviously, Kaigaku's duty as a demon slayer was to fight Kokushibo, but after sensing that the Upper Moon was far stronger than he was, Kaigaku just went to his old tried and true strategy for dealing with demons. Instead of fighting Kokushibo, he dropped down to his knees and groveled before him, pleading with the demon to spare his life. He even volunteered to be turned into a demon. And since turning a former demon slayer who knows a breathing style into a demon was intriguing to Kokushibo and Muzan, they agreed, and Kaigaku became a demon. Once again, Kaigaku demonstrated that he was determined to survive at any cost, and there was no promise that he wasn't willing to break and no oath that he wasn't willing to betray. He had no moral values or principles that guided his actions. He was just determined to keep himself alive and to serve his own selfish interests, no matter the price. In that sense, Kaigaku is like the polar opposite of Gyomei, who was willing to sacrifice his own life to save others even when he was just a blind monk with no fighting skills or experience. Kaigaku's ruthless and amoral behavior continued after he became a demon, and he instantly began eating people without a second thought. He devoured a lot in a short period of time, which allowed him to get stronger at a rapid pace. When he became a demon, Kaigaku continued to use thunder breathing, but he also developed a blood demon art which allowed him to actually create and manipulate real lightning as he fights. When a human uses a breathing style, their movements are merely inspired by whichever element their style is based on. A flame breathing user isn't actually producing flames. The flames we see are just an artistic representation of what their moves are inspired by. But a breathing style user who also has a real supernatural demonic power can essentially create a new and improved breathing style that incorporates both swordsmanship techniques and actual supernatural powers. So when Kaigaku becomes a demon, he's able to combine his thunder breathing with actual black lightning, which he can use to attack his opponents and burn their bodies during the fight. All of his thunder breathing forms become more deadly and more powerful, and his range and speed are also greatly increased due to his demonic powers. Kaigaku was so successful as a demon that Muzan eventually promoted him to Upper Moon 6 after Daki and Gyutaro were defeated. This news was devastating to Kaigaku's former master and the former Thunder Hashira Jigoro, who was also Zenitsu's master. The fact that one of his disciples went on to become a demon was so humiliating to Jigoro that he committed seppuku with no second in order to atone for Kaigaku's crimes. When Zenitsu learned about Jigoro's agonizing fate, it absolutely broke his heart, and he made it his mission to defeat and destroy Upper Rank 6 Kaigaku once and for all. Both Gyomei and Kaigaku will be involved in absolutely epic major battles during the next arc of the story, the Infinity Castle arc, which also happens to be the very best arc in my opinion. If you're wondering what happens to every Demon Moon and every Hashira at the end of the story, I already made videos on both, so check them out right now, links on screen and in the description. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys!